Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. It's two queer trans women. Us, we're wifey types. We talk about media, what we've consumed in the week, and do silly voices at each other and try and have a bit of a giggle.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean.
I'm a sleepy little bean, but a good sleepy little bean.
I'm glad you had a very productive day.
Had a productive day, so did you. Yours sounded chaotic. Mine involved being out in the sunshine a little bit. That was lovely. It's been rather pleasant.
Yay.
What have you been playing this week, my love?
I mean, apart from all the continued adventures of Abiotic Factor, which I am still absolutely loving.
We've been continuing to play it both apart and well, you separately, us together, having a...
It's fun. I get to be like a little pathfinder. I go ahead in my own save, and I wander around, and I find all the things, and I do all the big mystery stuff. And then we do a bit together.
I turn up and I'm like, right, where we going? What we doing? Lead me, wife.
And I lead you. I pathfind you along a course, and we go do a thing, and we explore, and we build a vast superior base.
Yeah. But what about you? What have you been playing that isn't that?
That isn't that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm still very much enjoying that. I'd like to point out. I keep thinking I'm near the end, and there's still more games. So I appreciate that about it.
I was looking at trailer footage of it today because I was editing Control-Alt-Access.
Right.
And I was looking at the trailer and going like, there is so much here that I have no context for. That is. This game's going to be way bigger than I think it is. Given
I haven't
what
watched a trailer for this in ages, so I'd be curious about that.
It feels like I must not be very far at all, given the things the trailer is showing.
Oh, there's so much going on in this game. And it's wonderful.
Yeah,
and they've just announced like the final update ahead of 1.0. There's going to be like a whole residential sector to explore.
Ooh,
you know, the residential sector that you were supposed to be going to at the beginning of the game after the tutorial.
Yeah, about that. Yes, I saw it's coming to PlayStation as well soon.
Yeah, once it hits 1.0, they're planning to port it to other things.
Ooh.
Yeah. Apart from that, I finally got a Geica Super Slide.
Tell me about this super slide, I say as I pointed it on the table.
Yeah.
What is that thing that I can see over there?
It's, you know them puzzles where you have, like, square bits and long bits, and a big square bit, and you have to get the square bit, like, out of an exit or to one particular position.
Yeah, it's a sort
They
of...
get used as mini-games a lot in, like, other video games.
It's like, it's a relative of the, here's the 3x3 and there's one gap and you're trying to shuffle it into...
Yeah, like a
picture.
Klotzy puzzle, yeah.
But this is more like, this is often in, like, video game minigames characterized as get the car out the car park by driving the cars.
Get the car out of the car park, or...
Yeah.
Bypass some sort of... I think I've seen it used as, like, security.
Bypass a security system or something.
Yeah.
But this one has, like, multiple different sizes and shapes of rectangle to slide around.
You get, like... so you get, like, a single unit that's, like, a square.
A 1x1.
And then a 1x2. And then a 2x2. And it's the 2x2 you're trying to get out. And... it's got 500 plus built-in puzzles into the thing. Mm-hmm. It runs on 2 AA's. It's got lovely magnets in it, so it's got a nice clicky as you slide everything around.
Yeah, and then everything like stays in place. So you can have it sort of held up rather than having to have it flat.
Yeah, you can held it at quite a steep angle before it sort of goes. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been enjoying playing that. I've wanted one for ages because we got the Geica Super Cube sent to us.
Yeah. This is the one that's on the little stand that's shaped like a robot, and you put the headphones on it.
And it's magnetic, and it's one of the nicest cubes we own.
It's got a real nice
tricky
movement to it.
Yeah. And there was an app that I think we used for about a week and haven't bothered with since.
Yeah, that you can like use it to be like, hey, track the speed of my solves, or
you can track speed solves. It can do shuffles for you, and you can also I believe there's online competitive play.
I believe so.
Which, not super my thing. I don't really do speed solving anymore.
No,
I know I can do it, and it's that's fine. I got got sort of down to a solid speed of about, like, I think my lowest ever was like 48 seconds.
At my most, I was down to about like a minute and a half to 2 minutes was like my limit. I need to get back into practicing and see if I can still sort of do that. But
I'm very, very happy with the Geico Super Slide.
Yeah.
Now that they are about half the price they were when they first came out. What about you? What have you played?
I started playing a really interesting game, and one that I've heard very positive things about for a while, but also a game that, like, too many people, like, demanded I play, and I was like, I'll come back to this when I want to play it, not when I'm feeling obligated to.
100 gex earlier.
This might be, this is 1000X Resist, which is a, maybe sort of like 10 to 12 hour long, to my understanding, visual novel-ish puzzle adventure game, you would maybe call it. It is a third-person game that is largely about walking around and having conversations. They're all voice-acted. And, like, the world building is absolutely fucking fascinating from moment one. It starts off with, like, you are in a society that is seemingly underground. Like, they talk very offhandedly at the start about, like, the projected sky above you, and everyone you're speaking to is named after a job role rather than like a traditional name.
Right.
And there is this like seemingly you're in this matriarchal society where at some point you might get called to get on a train and go join the All-Mother in a war on the surface of the planet. And like there's this really interesting religious world building going on, and then very quickly, your character is called Watcher, and, like, people who in this society are assigned the role Watcher, at some point basically have to, kind of like the Animus in Assassin's Creed, where you're going through, like, VR memories of people from the past. Your job as Watcher is to live through and experience the All-Mother's memories when she was still a regular human person before whatever events went on to make her essentially a god.
Right.
And you are to see her life, the good, the bad, the things that she proclaimed to the world, the things that she wanted no one to know. You experience who she was. You basically are on autopilot. Like, you live her memories. You're not in control of the actions, but you are experiencing what she experienced. And you are a sort of perceiver of these holy experiences, or the experiences of someone who would be a deity.
Yeah.
And then you get into the first section of, like, I am experiencing the life of this person who will become God calling people to a holy war on the surface. And it's, like, very clearly... It's very clear this is a game that was developed during COVID, because they don't say the word COVID, and it's clearly a fictional disease with different symptoms. But this is very much clearly a story about being a Chinese American in the United States right when COVID was happening, and much in the same way that for years people talked about, like, HIV and AIDS as being the gay disease, that COVID was, quote-unquote, that disease from China.
Yeah.
And the racism that sort of bears out
Spanish flu.
Yeah, the bigotry that bears out of your group being designated the ones that spread illness.
Yeah.
And it very much... I was fascinated with how quickly this character, who is essentially this religious deity for this society you're exploring, that, like, they don't shy away from showing you that she was not a good person, at least at the start of this story where I've seen so far.
Right.
A lot of the early stuff is about directly exploring this Chinese American who clearly was, like, very assimilated is probably the word to use.
Right.
Grew up in America, speaking English as her first language, not really having much of a cultural connection to China as a country.
Right.
And her interactions with her friend, who grew up speaking Chinese and moved to America, and her English is like 95% there, but she'll occasionally forget a word in English and say the Chinese word, be like, I'm trying to think of the thing. And maybe she goes on holiday back home to China occasionally with her family, and maybe she is more, she's coming to school with lunch that is like traditional Chinese foods. and is someone who, in a situation such as a disease is spreading and we're blaming your group of people on being the ones who spread it, it might be really easy for someone assimilationist to point the finger and go, I'm one of the good ones. I'm not one of the bad ones. Come for me last.
Yeah.
That's a Chinese person. They're the weird ones. They're the ones spreading the disease. And it really, this is obviously not an experience I have personally, but it reminded me of a lot of, the ways that certain stealth-passing trans people will sell, other elements of the trans community, down the river going, well, I'm one of the good ones, they'll come for me last. Just get rid of those trans people.
The gay, not queer people.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of that, there's a lot of, really interesting exploration of... The word autism is never used, but there is a really interesting lens of, exploring what is very clearly a autistic person trying to form a relationship and a friendship with someone who knows that they're a bit weird and that they can kind of take advantage of that. A lot of, really complicated emotional themes, very well handled.
Nice.
And, it's fascinating playing from the perspective of a character who, at least early on, is not a good person. They do some really interesting choices with dialogue choices, and occasionally giving you the illusion of choice, or deliberately going, you have multiple choices, but none of them are good. Because you are not the person playing a role and deciding how this is going to play out. You are picking options that have to be within the scope of what this person might reasonably have done. You are piloting a person who happened and who existed.
Yeah.
And you have to experience these memories through the constraints of what they might really reasonably have done. Going in and out of that and exploring, I got a little past, the start, and it's now starting to explore some really interesting stuff around religious brainwashing and the difficulty with which... how difficult it is if you get out of a religion to convince people still in it to see that there might be something wrong. It reminded me a lot of the way that, Scientology will talk about people outside of the religion as, quote-unquote, deceivers, I don't think is the word they use, but it's
how ex-Mormons get treated.
Yeah, it's the instant you learn that someone is no longer in the religion, you are not to communicate with them at all, that you are to cut them off entirely, and the sort of isolationist nature that breeds.
Culty.
But also, there's some really offhand little details early on that I don't know what to make of, and I'm so fascinated by the world building. One of my favourite things early on is, something quite grim and dark is happening, and don't worry, we've received a depiction from God of what this event transpiring looked like, and it's almost like children's scribble drawings of the event happening. I jumped into
your stream just as that was happening.
From what is supposedly an eternally ageless, hundreds of years old God doing scribble drawings, and then okay, no, you are capable of doing realistic imagery. That's terrifying where that's gone. And I have so many questions. It's so well written. It is very light on gameplay. The gameplay is largely walk around, have conversations, explore the world. Occasionally there's a slightly gravity rush mechanic where you are floating through slightly abstract environments, finding these sort of floating points to sort of magnetize toward to float through these weird environments. But generally it is just a game about walking around, having really well written and acted conversations I am deeply, deeply fascinated by. Absolutely understand why people were recommending it. Cannot wait to binge it. I am desperate to play it.
Yeah.
What about you? What you been playing this week?
We played a bunch of board games at the weekend.
We did,
had a board game get together, which is nice. So we finished Pandemic Legacy Season 2, Season 0.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes, we did. We did it once during COVID, and we've now done it once with our friend group that we play the Legacy games with.
Yeah.
What did you think replaying this? How did you feel about it finishing it a second time?
I still think it's probably the best one of the lot.
I agree. As much as I love Season 2 for its, like, wild swings on the map drawing system and the sort of reversing the core mechanic and exploration of the map, and the bigger the map gets, like, the more spread thin your resources become.
And how that plays perfectly into the theme of the game.
Yeah, Season 0 has so many unique, lovely little mechanics that, like, are just very well balanced. From, like, the passport system and your multiple identities to swap between, and the fact that you have, like, way more tools in your arsenal than any of the other pandemics, but you can only be using a certain number at a certain time.
Yes.
To some of the exploration tools, and some of the mission types are really unique. Season 0 is great.
Season 0 is great. I enjoy all the plot stuff. I enjoy how it all ties into the others. If you play the others, you can be like, oh, it's this thing and that thing and that thing.
Yeah.
But it's told in such a way where you can just go, oh, it's that thing, or you can go, I played 0 first, and now I'm going to go to 1 and 2. And you'll get different things out of it by playing it in that order, but it doesn't necessarily spoil anything.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. But yeah, very, very much enjoyed replaying the Pandemic Legacy games.
Yeah.
And also the chance to see it with a different group.
Agreed, yeah.
We got like almost like shorthand for how we were going to do everything, and like we got really streamlined on how we were playing it. And I think we started with this group way back in September.
Yes.
So also there's been the replaying, the pondering, the like deep considerations of everybody's turns, and like planning like four rounds ahead.
Yeah.
Because we've got to like go, well, if you go there and you do this, and I move here and I do this, and I can cover this.
The big fundamental difference I think I've learned playing the legacy pandemics in larger group numbers is in a group of 4 you have to be so much more conscious of how much 4 turns is to get back to a person.
Yeah.
Like saying, oh, on my next turn I can finish the game.
Yeah.
Is like, that's 8 more cards out of the deck and 8, like, that much closer. It's like twice as close to losing before you get to do it again. So you sometimes have to really go, can we survive until my next turn when we can finish this? We've got to work out, like, what can we do to survive that long? Or what are the things we need to achieve by then to win? And can we do them in this many turns? It gets real crunchy at that, like, right at the finish line.
Yeah. Really does. Very much enjoyed it. Very much had a good time, and also just like a chance for to just go like, we're not going to make any of the big decisions.
Yeah,
we can leave that to you because we kind of know what happens. Like, thanks to the ADHD, we've forgotten a lot of it, but like, yeah, like
I wouldn't trust my gut instinct not to have been tainted.
Exactly. So yeah, it was nice watching them sort of make those tough decisions when you have to do that. Like, Are you gonna really work for the CIA? Are you gonna go a little bit rogue? Ooh. Are you gonna do what's best or what you're told to by the government? And had a really good time replaying that.
We did.
Then we played some Root.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. This is that animals in the woods sort of asymmetric war game.
It's kind of a war game.
It's a cutesy little ward game, but everyone's characters play very differently.
Yeah, so the story is that the bird empire has just fallen and been replaced by a cat empire. Meanwhile, you've got the vagabond who's just wandering around, just being a little guy, and the Woodland Alliance, who were basically all the other animals who were just like, these toffs bothering everyone else.
We're just being quiet little rebels, not causing no one any harm.
We were just being perfectly happy. We didn't need to be ruled by anyone.
Yeah.
And it helps that they look like adorable little green slices of toast.
Yeah, they do.
So yeah, our cat person played cats. Our deep thinker played the birds. I played the vagabond again, and you played the woodland lions, and you absolutely crushed it.
Once again, I said it out loud at the start. I was like, the lesson we learned last time is you have to really bully me. I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
And once again, no one bullied me because I was so insignificant and not doing anything to no one for so long. And because no one bullied me, I was able to,
To be fair, like, the cats got a really good early lead.
Yeah.
But they were very much focused on their own thing.
Yes.
And there was me just going, I'm just going to try and do vagabond stuff the same way the vagabond always does, and try not to, like, king make too much. But the birds were having a really hard time. I don't know if they were just having an off day.
We've talked about this before, but the birds' whole thing is you have to add cards to this decree, and the more cards you add, the more things you get to do per turn. But the higher... Well, yeah, it's that you have to do more turn. So you get more out of each turn, but if you can't successfully do one of the things you've added to your decree, the whole thing falls apart and you have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the birds were having a real tough time not collapsing.
The birds weren't being aggressive enough, full stop.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing the birds really need to do is, like, make sure that they are being as aggressive as possible.
Yeah.
Because if you're the leader that makes extra birds, you need to be, like, making sure that you're getting into fights a lot to try and kill off some of the birds so that you've got more birds to bring out.
You only have so many birds in your pool to recruit, so you've got to be throwing birds at the problem.
Yeah.
To add them back to your pool to recruit them again.
Yeah, if you're building too much, you're very quickly going to run out of roosts and your decree's going to collapse quite early on. But that if that is the first leader that you play, that can be quite good for... Hey, I got everything out as fast as possible. I took over a whole bunch of places. So even though I've lost, like, for now, I've lost a bunch of points, I am still going to have all of that area space that I can now take over and do different things with and have so many more options. Like, I feel like one of the best places to stick extra cards in for the birds is move, because you can just move things forwards and backwards and just go, I did the decree, don't worry about it. And then just, like, as long as you're doing, like, a little bit of building, a little bit of fighting, but having all the extra moves, you can always do that. The cats were doing quite well, which is why when you started to really accelerate fast, I was like, okay, I'm throwing my luck in with the cats, and I'm going to try and do everything I can to do a bit of king making there, and we'll both win. But, you weren't having any of that. You just... It was brilliant. And then we rounded off the evening with some Discworld Discworld Ankh-Morpork, I think it's called. This, was it Martin Wallace game? Which I believe we've talked about before. It's bit area control, building, and silliness of actions on various cards. Some will be moving your people around. Some will create or remove trouble, which can prevent you building in places. There's money to exchange. There's chaos to cause if you've got anything to do with the wizards. And there's also, like, a hidden roll aspect because everyone gets a roll card at the beginning of the game that defines what their victory condition is. So they might be trying to own a certain number or control a certain number of territories, or have a certain amount of money, or have people in a certain amount of places. And so there's the bluffing about, I could be anyone, and you won. Because the person who owned the game was just like, well, we know that Laura isn't the person who needs to have things in 8 places, because Laura's in 8 places and she hasn't declared that she's won.
Yeah, the thing is that character needs to be in 9 places, not 8, and I was going for that goal, but, you're right, Colin, I'm in 8 places and I haven't declared I've won, so I can't be the person who's trying to spread out to as many places as possible, so no
Thank you for
stress
giving me
about
that cover.
Like, he said it so confidently, so authoritatively, and I leaned into it, because then I started going, oh yeah, but so-and-so at the table's at 7, they might still be going for it.
Yep.
So I'll spread to that place to stop them getting it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe my luck, and the game at that point became entirely, can I keep a straight face and not give the game away? While trying not to be too obvious that I'm watching people. I had to do two things during that once around the table, which was I have to check my own and go, have I misread it? It is 9, right?
Right.
And B, I have to watch for if anyone at the table is reading and rechecking the rules and might realise that it's 9 and not 8. I was like, I've just got to keep an eye out for these and not say anything.
Yeah.
And it might be the most excited I've ever been to win a game, because I had several minutes of penting up. I've won. Don't notice. Don't notice. Don't notice.
I was in the awkward position of so many times being like, all it's got to do is get one more turn, and I'll be thing. And just someone will be just like, oh, I'm just going to screw Jane over for no good reason. It's like, oh, okay. You didn't even know what my position was or what my goal was. You're just like, yeah, fuck Jane. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But I do enjoy that game. It's great. It's just a shame it's out of print, and that the remake version is problematic. But that was board games. Board game bulletin. What about you? Have you played anything else?
That's it for me, really. 1000 X Resist is the new thing I've been trying.
Well then,
time for this.
You've heard of the popular plugin to easily spot transphobes online? Now we bring you that technology to the real world with a host of extra settings. Detect transphobia, homophobia, aidsphobia, racism, ableism, and more with these stylish glasses. Available with or without prescription and optional polarized lenses. See the truth around you with Shimagami specs.
And they won't cost you half your lifespan.
hello.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you sometimes want a different kind of sandwich?
Ah, one of those sort of long sandwiches.
Like a submarine sandwich.
A submarine sandwich, perhaps. Yes, I've heard that term.
Yeah, you want a sub, and... and whip that sub into shape. Yes, you want a sub, but you're tired of... You've had turkey and ham with sweet corn and barbecue sauce for the nth time. What if there was something different that you could have that was a little bit wacky?
Oh, maybe like a garlic infused bread or something. No,
no,
like a sweet chili bread.
No, you're thinking too small.
Okay,
You're thinking too small.
Where should I be thinking?
Well, this week's sponsor is sandwichways.lol.net. And our very totally serious bread range.
Okay, give me an example of a new sub I could get.
Would you like meatballs?
Okay.
Marinara sauce?
Okay.
Hot cross bun. In a hot cross bun.
What, just a long hot cross bun?
Just a full-long hot cross bun.
I mean, sometimes like raisins...
Bit of cheese.
Sometimes you have raisins in like a curry, but this doesn't sound that appealing to me, if I'm honest.
Pork and turkey balls, marinara sauce, the spices, and a giant cross and raisins.
Okay, let me have a look at what. Okay, let me look at the list. I could get a vegetable delight,
right,
in a foot-long chocolate eclair.
Ooh. So it's not only cream-filled, but also you can get lettuce, onion, pickle, cucumber, jalapenos, olives if you want.
That's a lot to wedge inside the eclair without it losing structural integrity.
I didn't say it wouldn't lose structural integrity, but there will be cream everywhere, and teriyaki.
Okay. Well,
I like teriyaki, so I'm going to get a spicy chicken teriyaki, vegan, natch, between two bread-shaped oatmeal raisin cookies.
I don't like any of this.
Well, then don't go down to Sandwich Ways.
Sorry, this is our sponsor, isn't it? I am delighted by this.
Yeah, and you too could get this or something else.
Not that
foot-long turkey cronut. With aioli. So, what have you put in your eyes?
Oh, Oh, where to start with that? We watched a fantastic film together.
We did watch a fantastic film together.
We watched a wonderful horror film called Death of a Unicorn.
It was great.
Yeah, it was funny, it was sweet, it was very dramatically paced. Good, like, classic horror.
Yeah, it felt like it hit all the beats for proper classic horror.
It's, for what was clearly a horror comedy, what I really liked about it was it set up the mythology of unicorn as a genuinely scary horror creature really well, but without... It's not like when you have something like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, where it's like, we're deliberately taking a thing that is wholesome and cute and trying to make it horrifying in a way that kind of has to ignore the origins of what people like about the original thing. This felt very much like, no. We're going to create a version of unicorns that simultaneously are these beautiful, majestic, calm, gentle, magical beings that you can have like a soulful, magical connection with. But
the story is also supposed to be leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah, it's leave them the fuck alone, or they are incredibly powerful and they are only beautiful and majestic when you don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
The second you fuck with them, they turn all of that on you, and
like
that's
bobcats.
Yeah. It's I loved how they walked that line.
Yeah, it was great.
And I thought the film did a fantastic job of making its cast of people who were going to probably die in the horror film suitably hateable.
Yeah.
Suitably detestable humans.
Yes. Richard E. Grant's very good at that.
Yeah. The kind of terrible people who want to make a profit off of pharmaceuticals are beautifully wonderful people to see get their comeuppance.
Comeuppance with a horn through the chest.
Yeah. The violence was well handled.
Yeah, it wasn't like... it didn't dwell on anything too much, or it was so over the top that it wasn't too, like, squeamish making.
It reminded me a lot of watching The Monkey, the Stephen King short story adaptation recently, in that, like, there was enough going on that you knew very, very clearly what had just happened, without generally having to linger on directly seeing the gruesomeness directly. Like, you can watch from the other side of a tent as a silhouette shows that a person very clearly got disemboweled and their guts fell out. But, like, you don't see it directly, it's not lingered on as a shot, it's just enough for you to go, oh, I know what happened there.
Yeah, and I think that kind of horror I prefer generally, like, make it a bit artsy, or just absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Monkey Man, like, the gore in that was really visceral. Like, both of us watched a lot of that through our fingers. Especially when it started to get, like, heads getting smashed off porcelain and things like that. And, and I remember at the time thinking, like, have I got more squeamish for gore? Because I used to watch a lot of horror movies, like slashers and things. And it turns out, no, I think it's just the way that it's done.
Yeah.
Like, you can show it, but it's either got to be way over the top, or, like, it's got to be done somehow tastefully.
Yeah, like, I loved Monkey Man, but it's...
Oh, yeah, same.
I'm not there for that level of violence.
No.
Like, that's not why I liked that film.
No.
And if it had been more like, something like Death of a Unicorn in some of that stylization, I wouldn't have felt that took away from a film like Monkey Man.
Yeah, I think the closest I had to a moment of, oh, that's a bit much, was someone getting mule kicked in the face.
Yeah. Just a very good film all around.
Great, it was a great
I
film.
had a wonderful time with it.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you put in your eyes this week?
We watched the first episodes of the new season of Game Changer on Dropout.tv.
Ah, yes, the game show where the game changes every episode and no one knows the rules before they start.
Except that this time they had a year.
Yeah.
They had a whole year to see how they would do.
The new episode was called 1 Year Later, and the gist was, at the end of the last season, after recording an episode, 3 of the players were told, oh, we're going to record another episode, just stick around. And were given dossiers or folders with a bunch of tasks and told, Come
have
back
1
in.
year.
You have 1 year. Do these tasks, and you'll win points based on how you did them.
Yeah.
Show us what you can do
And
in a
boy,
year.
they put a lot into this.
Yeah, they did.
We had musical numbers, we had a whole stage play.
We did.
We
Yeah,
had a number of parody songs.
Yep. We sure had. Here is my impressive thing. Wait. Let me surprise you. There were two of the thing.
Yeah.
It's another one in the category I would put of fuck you, Sam, trying to come up with a complicated game. As occasionally happens,
We've unionized.
unionization the game show, as Game Changer sometimes becomes. It was a beautiful, chaotic adventure.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful start to the season it was.
Yeah, what a start to the season as well. Like that, I'm genuinely curious how you follow that up, because that felt like a season finale.
Yeah, every time we come back to Game Changer, I am impressed and surprised at the increasing scale this show has.
Yeah.
I had my theories about some games that... Because occasionally in past seasons we've had, like, a game from a previous season returns.
Yeah.
They've said up front for this one, they're like, oh,
No game samers.
no game samers. None of them are a return to a game that went well previously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is such a strong first foot to put forward.
Yeah.
It has me excited.
I'm genuinely curious what happens next, and how do you follow that?
I dread to think. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What about you? Have you watched anything else?
I watched a thing at the cinema today.
Ooh.
I watched Six the Musical, which is a 90-minute or so musical about the 6 ex-wives of King Henry VIII.
Ah, so it's not some sort of prequel to the movie 9?
No, it is not.
No.
This is... The best way I can pitch it is... What if all of the ex-wives of King Henry VIII, in whatever afterlife you imagine,
Right.
got together and decided to form an elaborate pop group
Right.
to try and sing to, I guess, the rest of the afterlife, and make their case of which of them had the most tragic experience being married to King Henry VIII.
Right.
Who had the roughest go of it with him?
Right.
Which of us is the most like, oh, you really deserve better out of him. You had a real rough time with that one.
Mm.
It reminded me in some ways of a much lower budget musical I talked about a while ago. Ride the Hurricane, I think it's called, about a group of kids who go on a roller coaster at a state fair, and it derails, and in the moments before death, they have to argue for why they should be the one person who gets to survive, make their arguments to death.
Uh-huh.
The reason I compare it to that is it's very much a musical that is structured around, there's ensemble numbers, but fundamentally it is each of the 6 main characters has their one big song of, let me make my case of why I am the character you should connect with most emotionally. In a longer, larger musical, this would be that character's, third act showstopper, but that's just the structure of the musical. The structure of the musical is, there will be some connecting material, but it is structured around 6, what would otherwise be third act climax tracks about each of these characters. One thing I will say for anyone who goes to see this at a theatrical showing, I initially thought I'd misunderstood what I was coming to see,
Right.
and almost walked out to double check with someone at the cinema that I had turned up to the right thing, because it does start with a 10-minute documentary about the making of the musical.
Right.
That was not announced, and I did check the cinema listing. Nowhere does it say this is a thing.
Right.
And it was not... As someone who hadn't seen Six the Musical before, it wasn't particularly interesting to me, because it's one of those, I needed to have seen the musical to understand, to see firsthand that the musical is good, to have an emotional connection to what is largely a 10-minute story about the connection between the characters who play, the cast who played those characters.
Right.
If I'd watched this at the end, I might have connected to it more.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, this is such a strange choice to put this here. Why is it here? and I twigged. The runtime of this is 91 minutes,
Right.
which is just a smidge over an hour and a half.
Right.
And that is like crossing 90 minutes means you are a full-length theatrical release, which is important for things like eligibility for certain awards, for things like you can petition for more showings at a cinema if you hit certain length limits, because cinemas don't want to sell if their tickets are the same price regardless of film length, people feel shortchanged if the film is too short. So cinemas will sometimes have like minimum run times for getting a certain number of showings. Yeah. And like that documentary felt primed to be exactly long enough to get it over 90 minutes.
Right.
And I'm like, I understand it now. I think it's a real cheap move, particularly to not to include that in the runtime and not mention it's a thing in the descriptions. Like, it didn't stop me enjoying the musical. I think it's just like a weird thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
That said, the musical, fantastic. It's very light on set work. It is largely just these 6 characters in their outfits that I would best describe as like very similar to outfits you would see in Starlight Express.
Right.
What if Starlight Express's glittery outfits had a few more like 2000s emo spikes on them?
Okay.
It's fascinating outfit design.
It was giving burlesque vibes in the trailer.
Yeah, it definitely does in places. I think a lot of the individual songs are very strong. It's very clear they have a very good cast putting these songs together, and I like that they are all very genre distinct. There's one of the 6 that really sticks in my head as a performance, and it's the one that I want to talk about in some small amount of depth, which is Catherine Howard, who is the 5th of 6 wives. Yeah, her song is called All You Wanna Do, and I think it is an amazing piece of music. If one that I was tense as hell when it began. Because her story, Catherine Howard's story, essentially is a story of consistently trying to find supportive, platonic relationships with men in her life who ultimately want her for sex. Starting from, like, a terrifyingly young age. Like, the song starts being an upbeat pop song talking about being 13, and the implication being in a sexual relationship with a 26-year-old when you're 13.
Ugh.
And the thing is I think ultimately the song is really damn impressive, because like I was so nervous when it started on such an upbeat beat singing about that, but it is a slow breakdown of a song of the more, like, starting from I just wanted to feel special, and I, internalized that this was a way to get that affection, to slowly becoming clearly more and more broken the more times this happens, and she's, like, singing about, like, developing these lovely platonic friendships, where you're just dreading, I know what the chorus is, and I know what we're coming back to is the foot's gonna drop of this person was interested because they were physically attracted to you, and that they weren't being honest about having a platonic interest in you. Fantastically heartbreaking song that I think they pulled off really well, even if, like, initially I was like, I don't know if they can land this ship. They did so very effectively. I think it is a little predictable and a little cheesy in the conclusions it draws to, but I don't hate it, because I think they have fun with and acknowledge the slightly cheesy nature of where it ends. Like, I don't think it's too spoilery to say a musical that starts as being about which of us has the most tragic experience with this one man that we were all exes with, does at some point interrogate the nature of the fact that we only really know these people's names because of a silly rhyme about how their life could be summed up in one word in relation to
how they died.
Yeah, they died. It's, it's those women who divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Like, that's the only things we know about them in relation to a man that we know more about that situation with. And the ways that knowing them only through the lens of Henry VIII fundamentally does sort of force you to compare and contrast them directly in a way that's really weird to do. And I think, like, the bits of it that explore that are interesting, even if they take some very musical approaches to the finding a happy ending there. I think it was a very enjoyable musical overall, very catchy. I am glad I saw it. What about you? What have you put in your eyes this week?
That's it for me. That's all the things I've done.
Well then, time for this.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I think we're about to make a lot of money.
I love money.
Right. I love money too. So, you know how one of the hardest things about us making money is if we do anything too greedy, people go, "You're being greedy," and point at us and shout at us.
I hated that.
Yeah, and it would be great to have like a magical smoke screen by which we could blame someone else for our greed.
I love
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's what I'm thinking.
Right.
I've been hearing this word tariffs a bunch.
I have heard that a lot. That has meant that things that I buy have become more expensive, and I believe that's why a lot of my stocks and shares are worth considerably less than they were last week.
Indeed.
Which I'm not happy about.
I'm not happy about. But if we're in this situation, we might as well make the most of it. What I'm thinking is, I don't know, double, triple, does quadruple seem fair? The price of our video games. And we point at the tariffs and go, it's tariffs' fault.
Yeah, because our games are made downstairs, but some of those workers come from other countries.
I see.
And we don't have to pay them as much usually. But now they can't do that. Oh no. That means...
I mean, our game is set in a foreign country.
Yeah. There's a tariff on that being brought into this country. So therefore, we have to charge you $120 for the latest Call of Duty.
Oh no, I'm thinking way higher. I think we go $200-$300 for a video game.
Please go continue.
No. Please tell me how great I am.
You are amazing and great and wonderful, and I love you.
Well, thank you. I had nothing else to say. I just wanted to hear how great I was.
Well, yeah, I get it. I mean, you are a fucking genius.
I know.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. Yourself?
Well, I've basically had to spend the last couple of weeks de-radicalizing the cat.
I'm sorry, what?
So, have you ever heard of cat stimulation videos?
Oh, yeah, you put on a video, it's like, his videos of, like, birds skittering around.
Yeah,
and, like, squirrel went
here's
past.
a live feed of a like, bird feeder or like a woodland area where they put some seed
animals
down.
that a cat would go, ooh, I want to pay attention to that, my evolution says I should watch that.
Yeah. Well, there's tons of those on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Well, I may have just, like, left YouTube videos on for the cat. And YouTube did its YouTube thing. A couple of autoplays
It auto-played it to Nazis, did it?
Yeah, well, we went from the cute little birds hopping around and the squirrels and the woodland scenes, and according to my history, it quite quickly slipped into your Jordan Petersons, your Manosphere, things like that, and then like full right-wing bullshit. So yeah, we have just, we've had to, have the swastika tattoo removed, and we've had to let her fur grow back out because obviously she'd had a buzz cut, and it was a terrible time, but yeah, thanks to some help from like cult deprogramming like groups, we've managed to get her deprogrammed from all of that, and she's just a nice, adorable kitty again, and she's not doing hate speech.
I'm glad you got her deprogrammed.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social justice warriors.
Social justice warriors.
Yeah.
Righto. Right, Barry, how you doing?
Oh, I have enjoyed seeing the sun, and that some of that sun has been warm.
Oh, I've enjoyed the same. It's been a rare, unexpected treat, if I do say so myself.
It's been a nicer spring, even if the evenings are still bloody cold.
Spring is attempting to have sprung.
It sure bloody
It is trying its darndest.
It sure bloody is, yeah. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right. I've been talking to some friends over in the States, though, and there's a lot going on over there.
Oh, there sure is, more by the day.
My conversations with them have not been about all of the everything currently happening.
No, but there is a lot of everything happening.
There's a lot of everything happening, but I've instead been talking to them about the way that taxes work over there in the US and the absolute bloody nightmare that it is.
You have to fill in all these very complicated forms that we took money from a accounting software firm in order to keep confusing so that they could keep selling accounting software.
Yeah, that is definitely the start of it. The fact that there is an entire industry of paid for by private company programs that will simplify the tax forms and turn them into something resembling something simple like the relatively simple UK tax forms.
Yeah.
There's that. There's also the fact that in most countries in the world, we understand this. Your taxes are, if you are working for a company, automatically are just calculated for you.
Yeah.
And if you are self-employed, you fill in like how much you have earned and how much your expenses were and whatnot, and they just tell you what you owe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not how it works in America.
No.
You have to calculate how much you owe, and you tell the government, I earned this much from work, I earned this much freelance, I did this, I did that, I have calculated, I owe you this much money.
Yeah.
And what the government might then do is turn around and go, nope, you got the number wrong. You are now getting a big fine because you didn't work the number out right. Because even before you submit the number, they know the correct number. They know what the number is. They won't tell you what the number you owe is. They want you to tell them the number you owe. And then they'll tell you whether you were right or wrong.
Are they just hoping people are going to overpay?
I think they're either hoping that or hoping that they get the wrong. They do the math wrong and work out the wrong number so that they can make money by fining you for getting the number wrong. Right?
Okay.
Rather than you just tell them, here is the information, you tell me what I owe. It's, I think I did the maths right, here's what I owe. Okay, well, we did the maths, and that's not what you owe. And rather than just like, we tell you what you owe, you tell us what you owe and then we tell you you're wrong.
It feels like, why is your government trying to trick you?
Right? It feels like entrapment. It feels like we're gonna play a guessing game.
Are you an accountant? You have to tell me if you're an accountant.
Right, it feels like a tax on not being an accountant.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are you kind of bad at doing maths? Well, have we got the game to show you're gonna fail and owe us money for? It's such a fucked up system.
It really fucking is, yeah.
And I know that's probably not news to you, but I every time I hear about it, I hear little specifics that remind me just how weird and fucked up it is that's the system. And it does not need to be that way.
No.
Like, if anyone, over in the States was hypothetically listening to this conversation, point out to your government that know what the country does it that way, and it's stupid.
I'm not sure this is the right government to be pointing that out.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
Maybe the next one,
yeah,
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Ugh, fancy old mate.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. Good luck, mate. Good luck. Right, I think I'm going to pop off.
Oh, sounds good. See you.
Nice. So, Laura,
Yes?
where can people find all your works and deeds?
All my things and words and whatnot. You can find them at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. If you go on YouTube, you can find way too many hours of me recently watching through live streams of Nintendo Switch 2 gameplay.
The correct amount of hours.
It was a number of hours. I sure did experience a lot of gameplay of Switch 2 stuff and slowly lose my mind in the process. To Laura K. Buzz, you'll find all the stuff I'm up to.
Yeah.
What about you? Where are you out on the internet?
I'm in a bunch of places. You can find me on Linktree, linktree.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find all sorts of things I've done there. You can find my Patreon, patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio, as little as $1 a month super helps. You can find me on Humans Holler at News, hollering at the news. The good news, we try and keep it light. You can find me on a couple of episodes of Fix Your Heart or Die. The first of those is definitely up. That's the talking about the connections between, the very real connections between the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA and Twin Peaks. We had a great time chatting with Fox about that.
Yeah.
That's it for me. Will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.